Hello and welcome back to the Walk and Talk. I hope you're all well. I hope autumn has been treating you kindly so far, and I hope you're all ready for another weekly hit of dog training wisdom. So, today's episode is going to be a little bit different to the norm, but I hope you love it anyway because today we are going to dig into something I believe to be so important and yet is so often overlooked when it comes to our dogs' training and behavior. And that is basically us, quite frankly, the human end of the equation, our energy, our motivation, and everything that we bring into our dog's world on a daily basis. And I think now is the perfect time of year for an episode like this because I know right now, as we step into autumn, things feel kind of different. I'm really feeling it myself this year. I think because we generally had such a nice summer, didn't we? Well, we did where we were in the UK. And it's just making it all the more obvious that now the nights are suddenly creeping in earlier and the mornings are getting darker and the air is getting colder and it just feels damper. And let's be honest, this shift in season can absolutely impact our mood and it can make us feel a little bit flat, can't it? To be real. As the temperature drops and the light dips, it really can be harder to find that same spark of motivation for those lovely long walks or those focused training sessions you want to do when you'd rather just be curled up with a blanket. And yet, this is truly exactly the time of year when our energy matters most for our dogs because they don't have that seasonal slump in the same way that we do. They still wake up every morning ready to go, ready to connect, ready to learn. So today, I want to explore why our energy as owners is so crucial to our dog's success, how science shows us that dogs really do pick up and mirror our state, and some practical ways to keep your own cup filled as the days get shorter so that you can keep showing up for your dog in all the best ways and continue to bank the progress towards your goals that I know you're after. So, okay, let's start with the why. Why does our energy even matter, really? Well, dogs are literally emotional sponges. They are adorable little four-legged receptors that are wildly attuned to us in ways that 90% of us don't even realize. There's some really clever research showing that dogs not only recognize human emotions in our faces and our voices, but that their bodies actually synchronize with ours. And I think I've talked about this a little bit on previous podcast episodes, but let me just give you a couple of minutes of science here again, in case you're new to it. Okay. So there was a fairly recent university study, the university's name, which I absolutely cannot pronounce. So I'm guessing it's not in the UK. I'm not even going to try to. But this university study looked at something called heart rate variability, which is basically just the tiny variation in the amount of time between each of our individual heartbeats. And it's one of the best markers we have physiologically for understanding how stressed or relaxed someone is. So when we are calm, heart rate variability is higher and more flexible. And when we're stressed or we're feeling anxious, it gets much more rigid. And what researchers found is that when owners are stressed, their dog's heart rates shift to match the same stress pattern. And the opposite is true too. So when the owner is relaxed and calm and chilled, the dog's body literally falls into sync with that as well. Wow, that's bloody amazing. I hear you cry. Well, it doesn't stop there, guys, let me tell you, because dogs also show cortisol synchronization with us. And you probably already know that cortisol is our primary stress hormone. So, in longer term studies that were written up in 2019, I think, it was found that the cortisol readings of dogs and their owners that were taken at different points in time, I think they were 6 months apart, something like that. I think they were taken from hair strands. They were synchronized with one another. So, if the owner was more or less stressed, the dog was more or less stressed. So your emotional state isn't just something your dog reads in the moment, it can actually shape their whole stress profile over time. And then there's behavior, which feels like the most obvious one, although so many people overlook the effect of their own behavior entirely when it comes to behavior issues that they might be experiencing with their dogs, when the truth is, dogs are absolutely brilliant at reading human communication. In fact, they are better at picking up on subtle human social cues than even chimpanzees are. They recognize emotions in our facial expressions. They understand the emotional tone in our voices. And I have talked in detail on why dogs in particular are so good at this compared to other species in a previous episode. But to put it in layman's terms, dogs and humans have evolved side by side for thousands of years. We know this. And so their brains have literally evolved, they have changed to be able to do this. Because the dogs who um, understood the humans in the tribes and groups of people that they were working alongside or just living near, scavenging from, whatever, ultimately had a higher survival rate, didn't they? Because they could work out this strange animal and how to read it and how to cooperate with it better than the rest. And nowadays, they can literally mirror our body language. This is called emotional contagion, where one being catches the emotional state of another. And it happens in both directions. So if you approach training feeling tense and impatient, your dog will feel that. If you approach feeling calm, curious, playful, your dog is far more likely to respond in kind. So, yes, your dog is obviously listening to your words, but far more than that, they're tuning into your whole state, your body, your breath, your tone, like your whole vibe, which means the energy you bring into a session with your dog isn't just some vague, wishy washy idea. It's literally biology, it's neuroscience, it's what shapes how your dog experiences the world and how successful they can be in their learning. You could think of it like this: you and your dog are a bit like two tuning forks. If you strike one tuning fork, the other one will start vibrating at the same frequency, even without being touched. That's science, that's resonance. And our relationship with our dogs works in kind of the same way. When our energy vibrates at stress, frustration, tension, nervousness, our dogs resonate with that and they fall into sync with that. Whereas when we're steady, we're calm, we're positive, they match that frequency instead. So let me give you a picture of how this looks in real life. Imagine you are running late for work, you're a bit stressed, you know your dog needs to go out for a wee, you grab the lead, you rush your dog out the door, you're walking really fast, your shoulders are tight, your tone of voice is clipped. What usually happens? Your dog probably starts pulling harder, they're sniffing frantically, maybe they're even starting to react to things that normally wouldn't bother them at all. Their energy matches your energy. Now, imagine the exact same walk, but you've given yourself a moment to breathe before you head out. You are walking with a looser body, your voice is lighter, you are not in a rush. What happens then? Your dog tends to settle quicker. Maybe they check in more. They move with you more instead of against you. The only thing that changed wasn't the environment, it wasn't the training cues, it was your energy. Now, let's be real about where we're at in the calendar now, because autumn and winter can hit us humans hard, can't it? Shorter days mean less sunlight. Less sunlight impacts our serotonin and melatonin production, which in turn affects our mood, our motivation, our sleep. That's the science of why you might feel more tired, less motivated, less up for those long adventures you were having all through the summer. But the thing is, our dogs don't get that memo. They're still full of beans. And when our energy dips, it can create a bit of a mismatch. We might cut walks shorter. We might stop being as consistent with training. We might fall into a bit of a rut, to be frank. And over time, that adds up because dog training is all about the long game. I say this so many times. The work you put in consistently Even when it's just a little bit each day, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, that is what compounds into those results that we all want. So, my message here is don't let the season pull you into thinking you need to put training on pause. Instead, try to find ways to adapt. Your dog's brain and body still need that outlet at the end of the day. And the energy you bring to those moments is what makes the difference. So, practical strategies. How the hell do we actually do this? How do we actually fill our cup, keep our mood high? Because it's all well and good saying keep your energy up, but ultimately when it's dark and it's raining and it's cold, that's easier said than done. I fully get that. So, I mean, I live in a Victorian house, so it can be pretty bleak sometimes. So, first of all, let's talk about reframing. Instead of seeing autumn as a time of limitation, think of it as a time of opportunity. This is the perfect season for cozy indoor training games. You don't need a bright summer evening in the park to teach tricks or build engagement or work on your skills. Literally, just 10 minutes here or there in your living room with a handful of treats can be more powerful than a half hearted walk where you're both miserable. Next, set yourself up for success physically. When it does come to hitting the great outdoors, and I literally just did this about a month ago, my autumn winter haul, um, get some good waterproofs. Get yourself a really warm, nice coat. Get yourself some gloves that let you handle treats easily without getting all frustrated and cross. These tiny little things really can change the entire experience of being outside. If you're comfortable, your energy lifts naturally and your dog feels that difference instantly, I promise you. Then there's the idea of micro training I want to talk about. So instead of thinking you need to do big, structured sessions, just sprinkle training throughout your day. Ask for a few recalls in the garden. That's it. Play a quick engagement game in the kitchen while the kettle's on. Job done. Reinforce calmness while you watch TV for half an hour. These little micro moments stop training from feeling overwhelming, but they still keep your dog's brain ticking over. They're like your little maintenance sessions. And finally, remember to fill your own cup outside of dog training, completely outside of dog training, because the truth is, if you are burnt out in life generally, your dog is going to feel that too. Whether that is taking 5 minutes in the morning for a little coffee ritual, getting some daylight early in the day, go and stand outside for 5 minutes and drink your morning tea to boost your mood, or simply giving yourself permission to rest. These things really matter because when you are recharged, you show up differently for your dog. And in today's day and age, more than any other, I feel like we are all living life now at 1,000 miles an hour, and you feel guilty for just stopping and giving yourself a break. But that break is so important for your mental health and well being. So please don't skip it. Another thing that's really important is your mindset because energy isn't just physical, it's about intention as well. So before you head into a training session or even just a walk, if you're feeling a little bit wound up from the day or your brain is buzzing with distracting thoughts, just give yourself a minute. Take a deep breath, shake off whatever stress you've been carrying. Your dogs do it so well. And remind yourself this time is for connection. This is about building a relationship, not ticking off a task. And make sure you're as present in that as you can be. Our dogs are such great examples of this. They truly are masters of living in the moment. They don't hold on to yesterday's bad session. They don't get lost obsessing over tomorrow's worries. They really do meet you as you are right now. And that is such a gift that I think so many of us overlook and fail to take advantage of. So, as we do now step into the darker season, remember your energy matters. It shapes your dog's experience, it affects their behavior, and it impacts the success of your training. Yes, it's probably harder to feel motivated right now. I get that. But the work you do consistently, even in teeny tiny small doses, is ultimately what creates the long term results. So this week, I implore you to invest in filling your own cup, in reframing the season as an opportunity, and in bringing mindful energy to the time you intentionally spend with your dog. Because your dog doesn't need you to be perfect. I don't want you to take this podcast episode and use it to just heap even more negative pressure on yourself. Not at all. They just need you to be present and engaged and open to whatever you guys might achieve together. That's it. So put on your coat, grab the treats, make a nice hot chocolate and light the fire afterwards and get your favorite blanket out and just keep showing up. Your springtime dog, the dog you will be so proud of next year, the dog you can take places, the dog that doesn't embarrass you on walks, that dog is being built right now in the everyday moments, fueled by the energy that you are bringing to the table. Okay, I've definitely gone on for long enough on that, I think. So I think that's it for today's episode. I hope this gave you a little boost of motivation as we move into autumn, as well as some practical ways to protect your energy and keep your training feeling joyful, even when the weather is truly glum. And as ever, if you found this helpful in any way, don't forget to share it with a friend who maybe needs the reminder as well. I hope you all have a fabulous week. In the meantime, I hope there's plenty of autumnal sunshine. I hope there is minimal rain and mud. And I will see you same time next week for another episode of The Walk and Talk.